If you're just here to watch the battle and want to skip everything I have to say, then skip to 740. This video is not a guide for challenge mode. If you want a guide, fortunately there's a Google Doc linked in the description that has strategies for autoing challenge mode. Currently there's Helena and Enterprise. And for each month I will have a strategy and several example fleets. So since challenge mode is endgame content, most of them will be high-end fleets, and only a few will be mid-end. You can probably use worse fleets if you manual, but this guide is for auto only. And I try to add basic strategies before the month arrives. Like, next month is Scorpio or Elbing, and there's not much here yet. So I try to add the basic strategy before the month, but fleets, especially mid-end fleets, will need to wait until the month begins because I need to test them. Unlike some people, I don't hack the game and have access to everything. So here, I'm using a newly released timing calculator. It does all the calculations for you, so you don't have to input reload percentage skills or whatever. But most importantly, this is the only calculator that is precise enough for challenge mode, for autoing challenge mode. Because other calculators can have errors of up to 0.1 seconds per salvo, and that 0.1 adds up, like over a 5-minute battle. That's a drift of 1.5 seconds, which may kill your fleet. This calculator is accurate to within 0.03 seconds, I'd say, and that's pretty much the best I can do because the game timing depends on your potato device's lag. So brief introduction is you can set your tech up here, and I only bother with the reload tech, so let me switch to the fleet for today's video. So tech is 40 carrier reload, and the rest I don't care about, so I'll just leave them empty. And here you can select cats. So as you can see, Akagi here has 20.08 second reload, and if I change the level of this reload talent, then Akagi's reload time will also change in real time. So this says that Akagi needs 20.08 seconds to reload per airstrike. If you hover like this, you can see that it applies the 50% faster load time for the first strike. And up here in sync view, it's going to show all 3 of them, and it'll show 12 seconds for the first airstrike, and then add 20.08 for the rest of the airstrikes. Now onto the actual video, Akagi and Kaga with the new Amagi versus Challenge Mode Enterprise. As I said, this is not a guide, and I do not recommend copying this fleet, but I want to explain some of the thought process that made this fleet work. With the minus 50% first load time, these carriers are almost timed correctly. So I want to keep them around 20-second reload to match with the boss's skill cycle of 40 seconds. And we can't go too slow, otherwise the odd-numbered airstrikes. So airstrike might launch over here at 9:52, or 9:48 actually. This goes from left to right. So if the airstrike launches here, and then the torpedoes will launch over here, and they might hit the enemy over here, which is going to be too late. And if the torpedoes hit at 9:41, then the weights have already spawned, and the torpedoes might kill a weight or two, and that might lead to unbalanced weights. And unbalanced weights, of course, will mess up the damage for the next airstrike. And on the other hand, we can't launch the airstrikes too early, because the even numbered airstrikes will launch at 9:28, for example. So over here, the blue bar shows that the weights are still alive, which means that the airplanes launched by these airstrikes will target the weights instead of targeting the boss, and that wastes damage, and it's also going to mess up Eldridge's electric zap targeting. So the zap will target the weight instead of the boss, and that zap is really important for slowing the boss. While we're talking about Eldridge's zap or slow, so since I want the zap to apply as late as possible, and the zap applies when the flagship airstrikes, I want the flagship to go last. So in this case it's Kaga, and Kaga is just 0.04 seconds slower than the others, and that's made possible by the, I tried to say Havar cat, but it's kind of hard to pronounce like that. This HVAR cat is slower than BF109G, but it does less damage, but that's needed here just to make Kaga slower. And for the Vanguard, I removed all of the torpedoes because I don't want any weights to die. If a torpedo salvo hits a weight, then it might kill one weight and make it unbalanced, and that's not good because it'll nerf the main fleet damage. And here Eldridge is required for his slow, obviously, because I don't have a freeze in the main fleet. And Kazagmo is also here for obvious reasons to buff carriers. Sendai is here for her flare, the RNG flare, because standard debuffs like Helena don't work because the carrier airstrikes are offset by 10 seconds, so they will miss Helena every time. So here flare is offset correctly, and if the flare activates, then the carriers might hit the boss while the boss is in the flare. So, and this flare provides a bigger expected bonus than consistent buffs like Sirius. Sirius gives 10% deviation. And that basically concludes the super complicated way to clear this battle slower than just using rainbow spam. Just to use Akaga.